Good afternoon, and welcome to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. I am your host, Kevin King. He is I, and I am him, the 800 Credit Score Man himself. So again, thank each and every one of you for coming in and tuning to the 800 Credit Score Man Show and giving me half an hour of your time every Saturday, 1:30 Central Standard Time, right here on Spreaker.com. That's Spreaker, Spreaker.com. Thank each and every one of you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show. So what in the world are we going to talk about today? Today, we're going to talk about a couple of different things. The first thing we're going to talk about really is we're going to talk about 8 ways to boost your credit. Now, they all aren't tips that are going to help you move your credit along necessarily in the manner that you may be thinking about, but there are things that you should know and or do to help boost your credit score. You got to know where you're at so you know where you're going and where you want to go and make that goal. So we're going to talk about that today. As well, we're going to talk about 609 letters. Now, if you've never heard of 609, you definitely want to stay tuned to the show. We want to talk about 609. It is a provision or a clause or a loophole, if you will, in the Federal Credit Reporting Act. And it may be something that you can use to help improve your credit score and get some of those bad debts or those bad accounts, those collections off of your credit report. So you want to stay tuned and listen to 609 and see how that whole thing works and how it plays out. So again, thank you for coming in and listening to the 800 Credit Score Man Show here every Saturday, 1:30 Central Standard Time. And you know, by now, you should know that it's also available to you at your leisure, on demand. It's like if you want to watch Scandal and it's not Thursday night, you want to watch it and it's Saturday, or you want to watch it and it's Wednesday before the new one comes out, you can catch it on demand on your TV. Well, you can catch the 800 Credit Score Man Show on demand as well, right here at Spreaker.com, anytime, 24/7, as well as on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Google Play, just to name a few, as well as on YouTube as well. So you can always catch the 800 Credit Score Man Show and catch up. And don't keep the 800 Credit Score Man Show the best kept secret out there. Share this show with your friends and your family, all your Facebook friends, whatever you're on. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, share this show with all of your people. You can contact me if you ever have questions at all about credit at 800creditscoreman@gmail.com. You can also catch me and follow me on Instagram as 800 Credit Score Man. You can catch my page on Facebook as 800 Credit Score Man. And please follow me on Twitter at creditscore_man. I will absolutely follow you back on Twitter. So please do that. If you go to Spreaker, that's Spreaker.com. If you go to Spreaker and you follow me there, then you'll get notified every time a show airs. So you never know. In the middle of the week, I might just throw out a little something, and you'll get that information, and you'll be able to get that information and listen to what I have to say there. So again, thanks each and every one of you for coming in today. So let's jump into a shout out real quick. I'm going to jump into, if you're new to the show, I come on, I present a topic to you guys. We have a question of the day somewhere in between in the middle of the show. We have a question of the day which comes from you, the listeners. And then at the end of the show, we may have a credit score kiss. Now, I haven't done a kiss. A kiss is keep it smart and simple to give you guys some homework, if you will, something for you to do to help you improve your knowledge of the credit scoring system or to help you improve your credit score itself. So that's how the show works. So I'm going to give a shout out as well because I do that throughout the show. So I want to give this shout out. I want to give a happy birthday shout out to Keith Cates. Today, April Fool's Day, April 1st, is Keith Cates' birthday. It's a milestone birthday for him. He goes by Coach Cates, and so he's an April Fool's baby. So you kind of know what kind of character this man has, and so he's a conundrum, if you will. He went to Indiana University, but he loves Michigan. So I want to say happy birthday to you, Keith Cates, and his signature, if you ever played basketball with this man, is yay yay. So that's out to you, Keith Cates. Happy birthday to you, my brother. All right, so let's get into these 8 ways to boost your credit score. And this actually came from something I was watching as well. And these are the 8 steps that one of the credit bureaus put out that said this is what they think you ought to do to help improve your credit score. So let's get to number 1. Number one is to get your credit report. That's the number one thing they want you to do to help yourself boost your credit score. Like I said earlier, you got to know where you're at so you know where you're going. So it does no good for you to, be able to look at your credit score, have no idea what it actually means, and then no way of knowing how to get better. So you got to get your credit report. Now you can get your credit report in several places, but the main place you can get your credit report for free is www.annualcreditreport.com. Again, that's annualcreditreport.com. That's where you can get your free credit report once a year from all three credit bureaus, the TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So you can get it one time a year on a 12-month rolling basis. So if you get it this month, now you're going to get it in April, then in another 12 months, you can get it again from that particular credit bureau. What I would do if I were you, and what I do is I spread them out. So I don't get them all at the same time necessarily. What I'll do is get one, say in the month of April, and this is a month that I usually get my credit report. I'll get one then, and then I'll save it, and I'll get another one in November, and then I'll get yet another one in the month of February or so. So that's what I suggest that you do. Go to annualcreditreport.com to get your free credit report. Now, if you get your credit report from somewhere else, and you can for free, you can get your credit report at, say, a Credit Karma or a Credit Sesame. You can get your credit report there, or even credit.com will give you your Experian credit report. If you go to Credit Karma, you'll get TransUnion and Equifax. So you'll get a score there, as well as you'll get your credit report. So you can go there, and if you're signed up with them, you can check that 24/7, and you'll always be able to get in there and take a look at it if you're on a creditkarma.com. And then also, if you go to credit.com, Experian is available, and you'll be able to do the same thing. And that way you get all three, and you can check them as much or as little as you like. So get your credit report was tip number one from the credit bureau. Tip number two was, of course, to pay your bills on time. Now, I always use this when I talk about this as tip number one. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself, is to pay your bills on time. So here are some things that you can do to help you do that. So if you have several different bills, and these are all things that are reporting to your credit report. So it may be a credit card or your car or a mortgage or your student loan, whatever it is. Here's some tips that you can do to help you remember those due dates. Set up auto pay. So if you want to set up auto pay with some of those recurring bills, that's a good thing to help you stay on time each and every time. Even if that date happens to fall on a weekend, I know for myself, I have my student loan is set up on auto pay. So if the due date happens to fall on a weekend, then typically they'll take that money out of my account that Friday before, sometime even the Monday after, but they're doing it themselves, so it's not considered late at all. So set up auto pay for some of those recurring bills that you may have. And then also put a reminder in your phone. Everybody's got a smartphone, it seems, nowadays, and you have the ability to put alerts in your phone. You can put an alert in your phone for the actual day that it is actually due, and then you can set it to alert you a day or 2 days prior, or even a week prior. If you do that, then you'll see that in your phone, and you'll know that it's time to make that payment on that particular account. Then what you can also do is set up email alerts. A lot of the places that you may have a bill with, they will send you an email to let you know that your payment is due. I have an account, I believe it's with Chase. Chase sends me an email that says your payment is due in 10 days. So that gives me plenty of time, if I were to use snail mail and drop a check in the mail, for them to get their payment before the payment is actually due. And then if you are, using and paying online or something like that, then you have plenty of time to get it done in between there. And let me pause right here right quick and talk about what happens if you miss a payment, or what you should do if you miss a payment. And I don't mean if you miss a payment, you totally forgot about it and now you're 30 days late. So if you miss a payment, and let's just say that you're 10 days late and you miss a payment. So you've been notified that you missed a payment, however they notified you. If they sent you a letter, or if you got your new statement in the mail and it says, hey, you missed a payment, here's a late charge, or whatever it is. Don't wait until your next bill is actually due to pay. Now, your next bill typically will be due to pay 30 days from that date. However, again, you could fall into a catch-22 where when you make that next payment, somehow, some way, it records that you are 30 days late. So if you happen to be late and it was a total mistake and you have that money in your account sitting and waiting, then go ahead and make that payment that you missed. Now, it's not anything wrong with actually making that payment and a little bit more on that. So like, if you make the payment that you missed plus whatever the payment would have been for the next month as well, then you're going to cover both of those things. And so you'll be paid and you'll be up to date and you won't be 30 days late, because a late payment on your credit could drop your score anywhere from 40, 60, maybe even 100 points if it's a mortgage. So you want to make sure that you're not 30 days late ever, because you don't want to have that on your credit report. It's okay to pay your bills ahead of time as well. You don't have to wait till the due date or just the day before, what have you. It's okay to pay your bills, of course, ahead of time, in time, on time, all the time, except when a little bit ahead of time, because that's a better time. So make sure you make your payments on time. All right, so we covered, you got to get your credit report. Then you got to pay your bills on time, right? So third, coming from the credit bureau, they say reduce your debt. Reduce your debt to 30%. So your debt utilization ratio, that's just a big word or a big phrase for your credit usage. So if you have $10,000 worth of limits on your credit cards, and it's only dealing with credit cards. If you have $10,000 worth of limits on your credit cards, you want to keep them at 30% or lower. 30% of that is $3,000. So that's where you want to be. So the way you figure yours out is you take your debt, and that is your balances, and you divide it by whatever the limits are. And that's how you'll find your debt utilization ratio. And you need to keep them at 30%. Ironically, I guess, that is also 30% of what makes up your credit score. So there are 5 factors that make up your credit score, and that's the second factor, or the second biggest factor that makes up your credit score, and that is reducing that debt and getting it down to 30% or lower. A lot of people out there don't have any credit cards at all. They don't want to use them. They're afraid of them. They think they'll get in trouble with them. You've got to know thyself. I tweet that all the time. So again, follow me on Twitter at @creditscore_man. Follow me on Twitter there, and you'll be able to hear some of the things and some of the articles I put out throughout the week about your credit, and sometimes about mortgages and things of that nature that may help you out as well. So you want to make sure that you reduce your debt down to 30%. Now, the lower you go, the better, of course. So if you get your debt down to 20% and a 10%, your credit score will start to increase. If you're sitting at 85% of your debt utilization right now and you get it down to 30%, watch your credit score soar. Believe me, trust me on that one. All right, so that's another tip that we want to give you. So tip number 4 in boosting your credit score: don't apply for credit needlessly. I talk about this often. That's inquiries. Don't go out and apply each and everywhere. Every time you get something in the mail that says, hey, apply for this particular credit card, do not fill it out and send it in if you don't absolutely need it. If you're not in a credit building mode, you're a millennial, you're just out of college, you're just out of high school, then maybe you want to apply for a couple of things so you can get some credit, so you can start building your credit. But if you are an individual that have had credit, you're a grown person, you've been working forever, it seems, you don't want to apply for each and every place. A lot of people will go out to the stores, and every time they make that offer to them to, apply for this particular credit card and get 20% off your bill today, that kind of thing, do not apply for credit that you don't absolutely need. That is one of the best ways to stay out of trouble, and it's also one of the better ways to keep your credit score good, because when you have an inquiry, when somebody pulls credit on you, it can drop, or you can be penalized, if you will, 2, 4, 6 points.